Hey, what's up, guys? It's Gons for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Recently, a man with the highest IQ ever recorded at 276 said that we are living in a simulation.
This is highest IQ man Young-Hoon Kim. In this video, I would like to declare the most important thing, the most important statement. I have two things now. First, God exists. Second, we are in a simulation, 100% I believe. As mentioned before, assuming that AI or AGI, ASI continue to advance, just like we will be able to create highly advanced virtual realities, then I consider it is likely that we ourselves exist within a simulation created by a higher dimensional being. With this approach, we will be able to understand the concept of ultimate reality or God.
His claim here is likely from a 2025 peer-reviewed study which suggests that gravity is a side effect of a cosmic computer program trying to optimize itself. I wanted to dig into this a little bit and figure out if it's just more science fiction talk, or if it's actually grounded in something more concrete, especially in the realms of information theory and, of course, the Holy Scriptures, and what the implications might be eschatologically. In the groundbreaking paper titled Is Gravity Evidence of a Computational Universe, published in AIP Advances in 2025, physicist Melvin M. Vopson argues, quote, "Gravitational attraction manifests as a requirement to reduce the information entropy of matter objects in space. This is another example of data compression and computational optimization in our universe," end quote. Putting it plainly, it suggests that gravity may not be a fundamental force at all, but instead a sign that our universe is behaving like a computer program, minimizing how much data it needs to process. I have the link to the article in the description. I'm not claiming to understand all of it because I am not a physicist or a scientist, but to simplify their argument in this paper, imagine the universe is a giant digital map of tiny square pixels, which are called Planck units. Each unit holds information. When things are spread out, it takes more information to describe them, but when matter clumps together, it takes less. So the universe prefers clumps because it's like compressing a file to save storage space on a computer. And the pull that makes things clump together is gravity. According to Vopson's theory, the universe is constantly trying to reduce its information entropy. That means it's literally running code to simplify itself. Now, what the paper does not mention is that if we are living in some kind of computer simulation, it would imply a computer programmer. Of course, this knocks on the door of theism at the very least, and the argument that God might exist, but coming at it from a mathematical and scientific perspective makes arguments like this particularly unique. We know that in Colossians 1:17 it says, "He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." It's clear that Jesus, the Logos, holds all creation in cohesion, and gravity may just be an effect of that holding force. Of course, in 1 Corinthians 14:33, it says that God is not the author of confusion, and so simplicity and symmetry aren't just scientific, it's actually describing some kind of divine order that exists in all of creation and can be seen mathematically. There are a couple more things to consider which are agreeable when it comes to the idea of the universe trying to compress itself and how gravity might be an emergent phenomenon from the second law of infodynamics, a proposed informational analog to the laws of thermodynamics. Consider Matthew 7, verse 13 and 14, where it says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the way that leads to life, and only few find it." So you can see how this exclusivity and the small and narrow gate mentioned in Matthew 7 here can relate to the compression theory of infodynamics, which is being argued for the existence of the universe being a simulation. Some people have related passages like this to the technological singularity, which is its own scientific eschatology. Because as science progresses and continues to understand the universe, it's actually discovering a fact of truth that has existed all along, that there is a God and that he created everything. You can consider information to equal light or life. John 1:4, "In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And so the Bible already connects life, light, and the Word of God, or information. Just like modern physics is beginning to see that information might be more fundamental than matter or energy. So while there are some overlap between basic biblical theology and what this new paper is arguing about the nature of the universe, there are some deeper things to consider, especially when it comes to the eschatological passages concerning the biblical narrative. So in Vopson's framework, the universe evolves by moving from many scattered particles to fewer, more centralized masses. And this isn't just about physical mass, it's about computational efficiency. The fewer objects there are in space, the less information is needed to track them. But what's fascinating is that humanity, with all of these tools and technologies, are actually mimicking this compression process, and it's showing up in all aspects of life, from social to political to, of course, the digital realms. We see the centralization of governance and globalism being a powerful force in this world. We see digital ID and digital assets and currencies becoming more and more prevalent as it takes up less physical space to operate. AI and other neural networks are unifying all language models. And of course, the surveillance and biometric databases are centralizing all of our biometric data. So the world itself is collapsing diversity into a singularity, but it's not doing so in honor of God, but rather under the hubris of man, which is really repeating what happened at the Tower of Babel back in Genesis 11. Especially with Vopson's compression logic here for the universe, and thus arguing the universe being a simulation, it is all being driven by man-centered thought, not acknowledging God. So once they do claim that there might be some kind of God or deity, will it be Yahweh? Will it be Jesus? Or will it be something else? Well, according to the Bible, all of this triggers some kind of judgment. I've long argued on the Face Like the Sun channel here and on Canary Cry Radio and Canary Cry News Talk that there are passages in the Bible that reflect judgment, and part of that judgment seems to suggest that humanity messes up creation, playing with the building blocks, all repeating what we did both at the Tower of Babel, but also genetically before Genesis 6. And so I've argued that passages like Revelation 6:14, where it says, "The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place," it tells me that something goes wrong with the fabric of creation. The word for recede, or sometimes translated vanished or rolled up or departed, is the Greek word apokorizo, which means to depart, separate, or split apart, which means, according to the Bible, the sky itself will split apart. This idea is also reflected in Isaiah 34:4, but too much compression might equal collapse. If mankind understands that we live in this simulation and we actively try to speed up or control this compression system, they may hit some kind of divine limit, at which point the universe itself may collapse, or as the Bible describes it, the heavens recede like a scroll. And it would make sense why God restores creation with a new heaven and a new earth, because this knowledge that we are attaining through the scientific method and mathematics, void of God and the truth of the Bible and the scriptures and the knowledge of Christ, will end up glorifying themselves, which will end up being the Luciferian philosophy, where they believe the lie in the garden that we are gods. Of course, through Christ and the covering of his blood, which was shed for us, our place in eternity is something much more divine and eternal than our current state. But again, that comes through the work of Jesus Christ, not through a scientist or even the man with the highest IQ in the world. So to conclude here, while there are some overlap and similarities from what the Bible explains of creation with this simulation theory, it clearly has some holes in it, especially when put next to biblical eschatology. So keep an eye on these scientists and physicists who are pushing the boundaries of what has been standard physics for the last 100 years, especially as we get closer and closer to the deployment of actual quantum computing hardware and quantum computation. These types of discussions philosophically will become much more important to understand and articulate, and really try to parse out, again, where they overlap with the actual biblical account of creation and where they differ. And I think we'll begin to see how the logical outcome of man being able to understand these things and even harness the power of the second law of infodynamics what the transhumanists and other cosmists are declaring to be some kind of technological singularity or cosmic singularity. The logical outcome is going to be destruction of creation and thus judgment and ultimate restoration, which all aligns to the second coming of Christ and the day of the Lord. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know there's a lot more deep dives that we can do on topics like this, both from the...
Yeah, I don't subscribe to everything that was said in this video, but it was interesting. And so anyways, I just wanted to put it out there and let you enjoy it. It's from what they're calling the smartest man alive. God exists. I do think that there's a great creator, a God that exists, and that we are in a simulation. And so, yeah, on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.